If you had to name the one thing humanity needs most right now, what would that be? Think about that for a minute. Spoiler alert, no, it's not a new phone, not the newest car or the newest gadgets. It's something deeper, a genuine shared sense of why. Over time, I've started to notice something troubling. We're forgetting our purpose. In the chaos of work, life, deadlines, distractions, we have definitely drifted. But I've learned through trauma rooms, construction sites, classrooms, and boardrooms, the real human structured communication is what keeps things alive. It's what moves us forward. And without it, we lose more than progress. We lose connection. Welcome to Bridging the Divide, powered by GApBuilder, where we believe communication is the foundation for bridging gaps, building trust, and aligning communication with purpose. I'm Melissa Rohner, creator of GApBuilder, a communication initiative built from lived experience in crisis response, corporate consulting, and construction leadership. I created this podcast because I've seen how quickly performance can crumble when clarity is lost, how powerful connection can be when we just get it right. You know, in my experience, I've worn a lot of hats, lots. But the one truth that always comes back no matter what is that people don't perform well when they're confused, when they're unseen, or they're left out of a conversation. You know, I can remember one site visit vividly. A last-minute change to the equipment schedule was emailed to a leader. That leader never shared anything with the field team. The crews all showed up. There was no material. There was 8 hours lost, thousands of dollars burned, but the biggest cost wasn't time or money. It was the morale. Because when communication breaks down, it creates this division, a disconnect between the vision that you have and the execution that you were doing. In closing that disconnect, that's where bridging the gap really starts. That's why I created GApBuilder. The name stands for growth, alignment, and purpose. Principles I've lived, not just studied. Growth, it comes from getting through setbacks, not avoiding them. You know, alignment, we're bringing structure to chaos, at home and at work. And purpose is what turns a job into a mission. At GApBuilder, we believe that performance doesn't begin with policies. It begins with people. And when people thrive, communications is clearer, consistent, and connected to something more meaningful. That's why we conduct communication audits, build clarity into training, and help leaders build trust through empathy and active listening. Because when a team understands why a policy exists, not just what it says, they respond with confidence instead of compliance. That's how we start aligning communication with purpose. That's how retention improves, and that's how culture changes. You know, in the field, everything moves. Tools, teams, timelines. But without clear communication, all of that motion just spirals into confusion. When people are constantly shifting gears without clarity, stress rises, safety drops, and performance suffers. But when communication flows alongside the work, when it's part of the motion, we don't just move forward, we move forward together. It could be a shift meeting where everyone feels heard. It could be a safety update that makes sense, not just checking the box on that JSA. A moment when someone speaks up before something goes wrong because they trust their voice will be respected. That's what building trust looks like in motion. It's not a speech, it's a system. And when you align that system with purpose, you don't just move faster, you build stronger. You know, so I'm going to leave you with a challenge this week. I want you to start your next conversation with a pause. Just ask one more question. Explain one more why. And listen for what's not being said. Because communications isn't just a skill, it's a bridge. And at GApBuilder, we help organizations turn confusion into clarity by bridging the gaps that cost time, safety, and trust. We design systems that build trust and strategies that align communication with purpose. Think about this one thing. Performance starts with connection. I want to thank you guys for joining me on Bridging the Divide at GApBuilder Podcast. Until next time, let's just keep that conversation moving.